what we've got to do is we've got to re-engineer the process around my experience and my knowledge is worth something. So surely I must be able to monetize that fairly and equitably for all parties concerned. So the clients that you go to see, they don't go to their job and work for free. Okay, so why do we? Well, because we let the tail wag the dog and we just think that's the only way. Unfortunately, it's not, and we should be doing more of it. I know that my guys inject at least 10 grand a year off the back of doing what we call a quantity takeoff service. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're on YouTube land. My name's Max, I'm your host. I'm the CEO at Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts here in Canada. As usual, like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're busy building that kick-ass business that we talk about. We want to make sure that we're stacking the thing very profitably. We don't want to be going doing 12 months and not have something to show. That would be depressing. Unfortunately, I think there's a few characters out there that do actually do that. So please don't you do that. But anyway, look, be sure to get across to the Business for Builders VIP Facebook group. It's a private group. If you're a good sort, I'll let you in there. And be sure to get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com if you want to just investigate what I offer, some of my business coaching clients as well. Right, let's get after it. The last couple of episodes, we've been talking about, I think, the whole Kitchen Reno, how I go about quoting a Kitchen Reno. It is just my spin on it, but it's sort of very much in line with what we do as remodeling experts. It's what our general contractors, it's what they execute off the back of. So I'm going to try and bring it home in this episode. I think this is part 3. But it might take me a little bit longer, so I'm going to watch the clock and I might have to just take a little time out and get another episode in if that's what it takes. So essentially what I've done in the first couple, just for those that haven't viewed those, and if you want to rock it back to, I think, episode 150, that's kind of where we started. Yeah, maybe. Last couple of episodes. Anyway, just sort of, flick back through them. But we just talked a little bit about kitchen renos and how we go about the initial phone call, what we want to achieve on that initial phone call, talking about setting the agendas, maybe having a little budget chat, maybe. And then the second one was the site visit, what we do in the way of, gathering the data and the intel and, what do we have the conversation, with the client, or what is included in the conversation we have with the client, maybe around the budget, furthermore to our phone call, and the importance of having a chat around the numbers, super important. But this episode here, I'm going to try and drill down, and it's just my spin, but I'm going to try and drill down on possibly chatting real quick about how we quote, how we get paid to quote, and then just chatting a little bit about the comms along the way throughout the quoting process, then the quote proposal, and maybe just chat a little bit about contracts. Now, that seems fairly doable. I just don't know that if I can do it in 20 minutes or not. So we're gonna get it underway and get sorted out. So look, let's quickly go back and create a bit of an overlap. Let's say I'm talking with a client about this kitchen renovation, and it's always, you've got to be fairly knowledgeable about all different verticals within that project and with dealing with retail customers, to the point where you can actually know which way to go. So you don't want to get started. I'm all for scripting, but there is definitely a part of me that's a little bit redneck that just says, look, just give me the dot points and I'll pick them. I'll pick them and use them as I deem fit along the way. And I think the best thing, as much as Jordan Belfort was one for, building a massive criminal organization off the back of scripts. So I don't doubt that scripts can do it. The problem with scripts is if the client throws you a curveball and takes you way off track and your script no longer becomes relevant, how do you get that chit chat back on track? And that is always the challenge, because once you get, pulled away from the script, can you get the thing back online, and are you able to do it without looking like a goose? So this is why, you've got to start working on, I make references a lot to, a little bit of the music that I play, in that I will go to rehearsals with an iPad Pro and it will be on a stand, and it will have all of the musics in Ultimate the guitar. But obviously, once we hit stage, that all kind of gets left in the trailer, so to speak. And everything has to be committed to memory, and it's a lot of work, which is why we rehearse. So if you want to be a good salesperson, then you need to really rehearse what it is that you do. And so I sit here for 15 or 20 minutes chatting to you folks, you good folks, and that's really what it comes down to, is just doing it over and over again and slowly developing the technique and the skills and the understanding and making it natural, so that it's because honestly, playing Rolling Stones on stage is the same as going to a client's house. It's a performance, and you want to be at the top of your game. So in one case, people want to go to a gig and enjoy themselves, get a great experience. When you go out into a client's home, same thing again. They want to be entertained. They want to have a good experience. And so we owe it to our business, right, to be able to entertain those clients at the highest level. So there's a little bit of a different way of looking at it. So when we're out on site and we are chatting to the clients, at some point, and this is completely unusual because nobody gets paid to quote. In fact, I mean, it's just the way it is. What we've got to do is we've got to re-engineer the process around my experience and my knowledge is worth something. So surely I must be able to monetize that fairly and equitably for all parties concerned. So the clients that you go to see, they don't go to their job and work for free. Okay, so why do we? Well, because we let the tail wag the dog, and we just think that's the only way. Unfortunately, it's not, and we should be doing more of it. I know that my guys inject at least another 10 grand or more into their economy, into their own personal economy, not just interior designers and engineers and geotechs and architects and things like that. Money that actually goes into their operational capital as gross profit. They probably inject at least 10 grand a year off the back of doing what we call a quantity takeoff service. So, you know, it's a little bit of a builder jargon terminology, but it conveys exactly what it is. We are quantifying what it's going to take to provide labor and materials, and then we put it together in a proposal. And essentially, there's a lot of work orchestrating all of that. So I think for me, the reason this picked up a lot of steam was because I knew that clients out there were not getting fixed price quotes. Everything was cost plus, and I had to go searching for, to really give us a good competitive advantage. I had to go and look at how I was going to produce something that would be valuable to the client, and at the same time be able to reward me for my expertise and my knowledge and my experience. And so the QTS, or the quantity takeoff service, was born. And so what that meant was that we also were able to use that as a bit of a tripwire or a little bit of a qualifying tool. If you're doing your marketing well, then you're going to have an acceptable and appropriate amount of top of funnel inquiry, and you've got to be confident that you're able to identify the people or the homeowners or the client base that best suits you and your business. And it's important that we look at it that way, because you're not obligated to give everybody quotes. So the end result is a quantity takeoff service where they might pay us. I hesitate to go do this on a bathroom, because it is only, we're talking 25 grand or less. I know I can come up with a bathroom quote pretty quickly that's fairly reliable that I could go to contract on. But once you step up to 50 grand plus in the way of, a kitchen reno, and there's multiple trades and suppliers, that's when I can start going, look, hang on, it's going to take me the best part of 30 to 50 hours to put this together. I've got to contact several of each of the different trades to get, to get quotes for the different, scope of work that's included in your project. I've got to do the same with suppliers. I've got to follow up, because not all of them get back to me on time. You're asking for a price. I've got to make sure I can mobilize and keep accountability in that whole process with subs and suppliers. So you guys know on one side that, if you're investing time, you should be getting paid for that. But the flip side is it's hard, because the marketplace is so conditioned that they don't recognize value in your services until you hit the construction phase, which is a bunch of horseshit. You and I both know there's so much work that goes into it. Why do I want to get paid? And you can't just go putting a line item in the proposal in the hope that you get paid and therefore you get that back. So and most of the time what I see, and now I'm coaching a handful of guys outside of Smith & Sons, I'm now seeing that the markups aren't even there to cover the initial phase or the preliminary design and quote stage or phase within that, and if your conversion rate is like ours at about 20% plus, then that means you're quoting 4 jobs and investing 30 hours. That's 120 hours for no return. So you're relying on that one job to get you back, 150 hours for 5 jobs. Is that how it works? I think that's a little bit too hit and miss, folks. So look, so the angle is there's no real set routine as far as the quantity takeoff service. It's easy. The service is you go and you get plans drawn up with now everything over and above interior designers, architects, engineers, geotechs, anything over and above your labor to orchestrate and oversee that comes along will be an extra, will be a change order, will be in addition to your $500,000, $1,500, $3,000 fee for the quantity takeoff. I really talk about the design and quote stages, the design and quote and the quantity takeoff service working together as one. If you use the words quantity takeoff service with a client just by itself, they'll be like, what is that? Because it's a little bit builder jargon, but it's like the quantity takeoff service is what we use in the design and quote phase to make sure it gives us a fixed price building contract or a fixed price quote. Okay, so if you can understand the way that works in series to remove the confusion for the client, but also really driving home the importance of the attitude or your demeanor and your attention to detail around getting everything stacked up right before you actually go to construction, I think clients will start to see that. Now, don't expect them because it's all brand new. So this is why you've got to kind of mention it, or you definitely got to mention it at this first meeting when you get there. That is for sure. Probably around, once you've demonstrated value and you've talked to the client about what the possibilities are and what your system is for the design and quote phase, really just then start talking to them after you've demonstrated value at the highest level about the QDS or the quantity takeoff service at the end of that meeting. Because depending on how they respond to that, when you're driving back to the office, you're going to start doing, the assessment in your head going, okay, they didn't really embrace the QTS or the design and quote phase with the QTS involved. That means it sounds like I may not be getting, they may not go ahead with that. Now, some clients are really good. We find, at least half of our clients always say, look, that's fair. What's it going to be? What sort of money are we talking, Max? And, on a $75,000 to $100,000 kitchen, when you're going to spend X amount of money on interior designers and draftsmen at least to draw the plans, everything that's over and above your fee of, for a $100,000 job, it might be $2,000. And they'll look at that and go, you know what, that's a fair fee to pay to a builder to control the feasibility study. And that's more of a commercial term, but that's kind of where we're going. So that's, there's no really set way of doing it. You have to understand, the reason people have trouble selling is because they don't understand that which they're not confident in that which they are selling, or they don't believe in that which they are selling. So for me, I know I am not working for anybody. No one would work for somebody for nothing. It's just like, oh yeah, sure, employ me, pay me $0, I'm happy with that. Like nobody does that. So we've just got to not go from one extreme to the other. We've got to bring it back into the middle, justify it with some common sense, some practicality, demonstrate the value. And I think what you'll find is people will start to understand that you as a professional operator needs to make sure that, you're running a business that is profitable. So professional and profitable, those two go together. Right. So if you've got any questions on that QTS, the best email to get me on nowadays is max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. That is by far, and that number that's on that website too, that's my WhatsApp number. So if you want to have a chat, I'm cool. Just send me a message just to make sure, you can get through to me. So, right. So what I'm going to chat about for the rest of the time, since I haven't taken up too much time with, I love it when I get those looks with QTS, but it's important because, when you're driving on the way back to the office, you're going to make sure that you're not going to get your hopes up because you've done your due diligence and you've really felt that client out as it relates to what their attitude towards you is as a professional builder. And so, look, side note, just pivot slightly. Make sure you're rocking up in a uniform. If you've got a cap on, it's got your logo. Make sure your vehicle is wrapped. Make sure your business cards are classy. They don't look like they're $5 specials from, down the road or whatever. Make sure you might even have a brochure, maybe have a bit of an about us, like something where people start to value. It's funny, just before recording this, and this is a Sunday afternoon recording session going out at some time in the future, there was somebody on Facebook, like a Victoria Rant and Rave, a Rant and Rave page, and they were asking for recommendations about, a recommended general contractor or builder for a bathroom and kitchen. And so what I love about when that pops up, and because I keep my eyes on that, even I'm as an operator. Like, I'm corporate office, but I'm like, right, I want to keep my finger on the pulse as best I can. And so what I do is I look at what the other people do, and they're like, oh, I'm XYZ builder, give us a call. And I'm like, there's no empathy in that approach, right? So, what I tend to do, just so you know, I've got a pre-written-ish in my notes on my iPhone, and then I put that into the comments, and I then, I customize it to suit that person, and her name was Gail. And of course, for my general contractors, and his name is Jason. And so, I modified that. But what's ironic is I spit the verbiage out in a certain way. Actually, you know what I might do? I might actually just cut and paste that onto B4B VIP. Remind me to do that so that this lines up. If they shoot across there, that's where they'll find that. I can do that straight away. And what I notice is that a lot of these other amateur, rookie, vanilla, God bless them, good guys and gals, they just don't try hard enough. They're lazy. And this is why they like doing cost plus, and then they bitch that they don't make enough money, and it always ends up in friggin' small claims court or whatever. We got to empathize more. We've got to demonstrate value more. We've got to be more professional in our approach. And so what I do is I write out, and I will have this in Business for Builders VIP. So be sure to get across there, and then I like the comment. It's amazing how many people go in there and go, "Oh, I'm your guy, I'm your builder. Here's my number. Give me a call," and they don't even like the person's post. See, I focus on building rapport from the get-go. Now, I go in there not as the builder, not as Smith & Sons. I'm just making a recommendation because that's what the ladies asked for, and I'm just Joe Blow on Facebook. I'm just another dude. But I'm making sure I'm trying to set it up so that when she hits that website, she'll look at watch the video reviews, because they are by far the most powerful tool, guys and girls. You need to focus on turning your clients into raving fans so you too can have video testimonials, because I am telling you, that does so much of the heavy lifting for us. And but the double-edged sword is that if you have a client that goes through the process and we aren't perfect, and they get to the back end and they didn't enjoy the process like they saw in the videos, mate, there is hell to pay. And it is really challenging, when we don't deliver at the highest level like we promise. And we have done it more often than not, just occasionally. We're all human, we drop the ball. So, even we don't get it perfect. So, that's just a bit of a side note. So remind me to get that uploaded, and I'll quickly flick that. I might do that straight after recording this. But, interesting. All right. Right. How far are we in? We're about 20 minutes in. I think we're going to do a part 4. So, look, I think what I'll do is I'll just quickly touch on the communications, during the quoting phase. And I'm going to, next week I'll probably finish off with the whole quote proposal and contract administration. We'll probably dive into a bit of that, because it seems like I can only get through, 1 point every 2 minutes, clearly. So, guys, it's, I don't know how you go about your quoting process, but you need to have a systemized approach to quoting. Now, feel free to hit me up. We are in the process of, or we are investigating new software. And if you want a bit of a heads up on what I'm doing in that regard as far as your project management software, email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com, and I will jam with you around the information to do with that. We're not quite there yet, but we are feeling pretty happy about what's going on in that regard. But that piece of software, for requests for information, requests for quotation, things like that, you can't have your communications with subs, with suppliers, with clients all over the place, you will turn your head inside out, because most guys want to do $1 or $2 million or $5 million a year. So guys and gals, you need to work on your techniques now, get those developed so that you can scale up your business. And part of that is not just, well, I've got to learn how to quote better with the system. No. You've got to understand, what your markups are and how you go about, the quoting process. So, be sure to not just, you're going to drown yourself because you'll turn yourself inside out trying to keep track of stuff. So I highly recommend looking into a project management software. And so the comms that you want to have with your suppliers, and your sub trades is all got to be off the back of. So let's say we've got an agreement from the client to cough up $750 or $1,000, let's say. Oh no, it's more that. Probably more like $1,500 at least for a kitchen. Well, you've got to go to work now and add value, right? So what I would ask for from a client is, I've got to have a selection sheet. Now, the selection sheet is going to be fairly generic, and like I've said before, we're still working on how we have an interactive selection sheet. You could design a selection sheet on Google Docs and make a copy of that for the client and then share that with the client. That is a really good way of doing it, because they can drop links into that. They can go in there, and so you can work on this live document. That's a really cool place to start if you're not doing anything. Now, if you need a bit of a heads up on that, you probably just need to go and Google that. How do I use, create? And I would say use a Google Sheet, not a Google Doc. The Google Doc will just be a cluster. You really need to have columns and lines, things like that. And so what you might want to do, maybe we can just upload a fairly generic selection sheet into VIP as well. And it's a good place to start. If you want that, I will share a copy of that with you, and understand we're working on more integrated interfacing software, but this selection sheet is a good place to start to give you an idea. If you want that, email me at max@elitebusinessadvisory.com and I will shoot you back. I'll actually share with you a copy of that selection sheet. So it's very generic. It's got all of the different aspects that you would find on a selection sheet, and that could be the one that you would then share with a client to really narrow it down. And of course, you'll put your own touches on that according to your style of business anyway. Now, that is a great way to, get the information first off from a client. And really, you really want to nail down this. I know guys that have done quotes without selection sheets. It blows my friggin' mind. It's like out of control. You just can't keep track of stuff. How is it that I can, understand what I should be asking for a quote or requesting a quote for on next, if I've got no way of understanding where the client's head is at as it relates to said selections? And so we need to lead the way. We need to give them a very generic list, floor coverings, and all the different bits and pieces that have aesthetic value in the job that they need to select that I can't select. And so I know that, some guys would just, give them a document. They've got a handwrite in, things like that. The challenge with that is we would love to have the link, because we want to include a picture of the product in the estimate. Okay, or in the quote proposal at the back end, because if we have a visual example of what we're thinking we're going to install, and the client sees it and go, no, that's not what I want. Oh, I must have clicked the wrong link, or something got cross wire. That's going to save you a massive amount of headache, because once you get into construction, you're going to have yourself a little bit of a drama. So, that I think that selection sheet is something that we've got to get sorted. So if you want that, email me and I'll get it off to you. And that just helps you middleman your estimate that's in your job management software and the communication that's coming through from the client. So the information in your job management software and your estimating software is going to be coming from subcontractors and suppliers, and the client's got their understanding of what they've submitted. So that selection sheet helps, it complements you and your estimation, okay, in your estimating program. That selection sheet has always got to be, observed, and your estimate has to be updated in accordance with that. And then any communications where the subcontractor maybe hasn't allowed for enough stuff, or is overcharged, or whatever the case may be, or the suppliers, said something that actually contravenes what's in the selection sheet. Those two things go to, so you're taking information from clients, you're taking information from subs and suppliers, and you've got an estimate in one hand and you've got a selection sheet in the other. That is the framework, guys and girls. That is how you should be thinking about it. You don't really give the subcontractor and the supplier access to the selection sheet as such. You want to middleman that information. Whatever the subs and supplier is seeing, you're handling. okay? And of course, nothing goes back from the subs and suppliers to the client. Make that abundantly clear, because when you're talking fixed price, we've had some cases where the client has bypassed the builder and has gone in the back door of a flooring supplier, and it really does upset the apple cart. It's offensive, and it really discredits the client, and shit gets pretty friggin', intense after that. So just, set the boundaries, manage the expectations. Guys and girls, I'm going to wrap up at that. I think that's a pretty clear place to just draw a line on the page for today. We've understood how to sell a QTS, or the framework or the points or the macro around QTS, and we've also understood the power of the communication system, so you are a stop-go man and you don't confuse yourself. Now, if you have a system like that, it will enable you to do multiple quotes, right? So if you've got one job that you're doing and it's covering all your overheads, imagine you could manage 3 jobs happening at the same time. That is leveraging the income opportunity that's in construction. It is a very good business, but it has to be done in an organized fashion. You cannot just be running and not knowing what your gross profit margin percentage is, or your conversion rate, or what you expect to budget and spend on marketing, or knowing what your top of funnel should be for the whole year. Like, guys and gals, we have got to not just be construction ninjas, but we've got to be business managers, business development managers in our own business that are so well versed in what it takes, what is on the dashboard, because there's no point in doing all this wonderful quoting and then go to construction if we're not making enough money, or we're spending more money than we make because we don't understand our overheads, are too high, things like that. So next time we'll wrap up with part 4, by the sounds of it, and we'll talk about, really putting the finishing touches on the quote in your system, and how we go about a quote proposal, and then, of course, the contract administration side. I probably won't go too deep into that, because I know that I've done a podcast about the important parts of a contract, and I might dig that episode up and make reference to that in the next show, and then we'll shut it down as far as how to quote a kitchen reno. Like and subscribe, tick the bell, leave a comment. It'll hit my inbox. I'll comment back. I thank you for your attention, and I appreciate the love that I get both here and on TikTok as well. If you want to get some laughs, go across to Business for Builders TikTok. We're putting out a bit of stuff there that's a pretty good view. And I think Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. Get across to that. Be sure to email me at max@elitebusinessadvisory.com, and would love to just chat with you on email. Remember to hit me up about some software, project. Can I drop the ball any more times? For project management software, hit me up there as well. I'm getting ahead of myself. And don't forget, on the elitebusinessadvisory.com website, that number up there is my WhatsApp number. So if you want to have a bit of a chin wag for 5 or 10 minutes, I'm happy to do that. Make sure you check out the time zones, and maybe flick me a message to make sure I am available. Right. Go have a great day. Build a kick-ass business. Keep your chin up. Don't let it get you down. It's just money. See you in the next episode. Cheers.